Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Slumber Party podcast. I am your host, Amanda Jewson. I am so friggin' excited about this guest. We're talking to Natasha Riley today, who's a licensed sex therapist in Georgia, a certified sex coach for women. Hello. She's the CEO and founder of Javery Integrative Wellness Services and Natasha Chantil. Am I saying that? Chantil?
Yeah.
Okay, sex and intimacy coaching. Natasha loves helping women identify their mind, body, and sexual necessities through confidence and boundary building. She says, I love talking to women who have come out on the other side of selflessness, becoming self-aware sexually and making their pleasure a priority. When she's not working, she's spending time with her partner and two boys or planning her next trip out of the country. And Natasha, we need to I need to travel. I am planning. I don't know when it's going to happen. You're in the States. Do you have a vaccine yet?
I have not gotten a vaccine. I really don't plan on it, but I do have a trip planned finally for my 35th birthday. I am so excited.
Good. Well, things are turning around in your country anyway. In Canada, we're a bit slower. So it's like I'm just waiting for someone to be like, guess what you can do? You can get out. And I'll be like, wait, I don't just live in these four walls.
Yeah. Especially in Georgia. Georgia, COVID may not have for real hit us. If you look at it.
Oh, really?
No, it did. But the way people move, you would think that it didn't. So we've been maybe when it first hit the first 2 weeks, I'll say maybe the first month we were shut down, but we've been open ever since then.
Okay, but this actually makes me feel a little bit better, and less crazy, because so my favorite Real Housewives franchise is Atlanta. And I know, just listen, every episode it comes out and someone's like, okay, that's your shit. But I see my housewives going out and doing things in Atlanta. And I'm like, what's going on there? But it's just that people are just doing their thing.
Very much so. Very much so. Yes.
Okay. I saw, I was on Instagram and I saw a few of them. They're all out together at this club. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't eaten inside in a year.
We're doing it all.
A little bit jealous.
We're doing it all.
You're doing it all. You're just living your life. That I feel is such an, not in no, Americans are always so risk takers and just woo, let's do it. And Canadians are like, I'm afraid. I'm inside.
Yes, I would agree. We are risk takers. I've spent a lot of time. I'm very selective where I go and what I do, but some other people it's just let's do it.
And I feel with COVID, we're all discovering everyone's risk tolerance. You know what I mean? So I feel I'm so safe, but I've been out. I get my hair done in a place where there's just me and the person doing my hair. And so I feel very safe. I have an KN95 on and another mask. And then to someone else, it's I am a rebel. It's I cannot believe you did that. I'm like, oh, okay. But enough about COVID, because that's enough to kill anyone's sex drive.
Yes.
I want to talk about what you do and what you see. And although nobody says this to me directly, I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but a lot of my clients will call me when they haven't spent a night in the same room as their partner in years, or it might be months. And they might say something like, we want another baby, but we don't know how that's actually going to happen, because we know what is involved in making a baby.
Exactly.
How do we get there?
Very much so.
So tell me what you do.
So I do a lot of the things. So as a sex therapist, I work with couples and I work with women. As a coach, I mainly work with women. some couples here and there. So basically, it can be like any topic. Normally, what gets people in the door is the sex issue. But what you'll find is that's not the main issue. That is the issue that just set things in motion for you to finally get help. But all the other stuff that you brushed under the rug, we got to address that first. So a lot of times it takes a while, unless they're just really, really communicating and they've got things together and the issue really is just the sex piece. Other than that, it's literally months before we actually get to talking about the sex when it comes to my couples.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. I love that. And that would track for me too. That because it's so much more about drive. Well, what's creating that drive, I guess, right?
Yep. And they don't think about it because we've spent years brushing this stuff under the rug. And now we're not intimate, or now we can't focus, or it's another role or a chore, because it's all that other stuff. Like you have to deal with the stuff.
You have to deal with this stuff. It's just like I spoke to like a food coach. She's like a PhD that works in like change management, and her thing is like it's never about the food. It's all this stuff. Yeah. It's not about like. It's like not about sex. It's like what else is going on there. And I would imagine too, especially, I remember even like before the baby came for my husband and I, Brad was sleeping in another room because I was sleeping so lightly. So his breathing, I'd be like, get out. Can't sleep with us. So it's so crazy. I made him go and get a sleep study done because I was like, no, your snoring has never been this bad or out of control. And he was like, I think you're sleeping lighter. I don't feel tired during the day. I will go and get a sleep study for you if you really think this is an issue. So he goes and sleeps in like whatever lab with wires all over his head, all over his body. And just, I didn't realize how invasive it was. I really thought it was like, this is before I became a sleep expert, but I was like, oh yeah, they just kind of watch you. No. They like put stuff up your nose to monitor your oxygen levels. So he goes and does that, and he comes home, and then he gets his results like 2 months later. And he's like, yeah, I don't have a breathing issue. I'm shocked.
I'm fine.
And then so like it starts with that, right? And then you have the baby, and the baby is in your bed. And I really felt this for a while, where it felt like so weird to be sharing my body.
Yes.
Like I was like, especially when you're breastfeeding, you're like, oh, this belongs to her. And then your husband's like, hey, I'm like, oh God, how dare you?
Right.
I am.
The sanctuary that is nurturing. You cannot come over here.
I am Virgin Mary right now. Like, how dare you? Yeah. So are you finding that a lot with your postpartum clients?
Very much so. That it's always trying to find a balance of understanding what you provide for your baby, and also understanding that your partner has not disappeared. And I find that seems to be the switch. Like, yes, you've had this baby and now you're in mommy mode, but you still have to choose your partner too. Without your partner, this wouldn't have been possible. And though they don't like to say it, it hurts their feelings.
Yeah. Especially, I find like in heterosexual couples, it's how men are communicating their feelings in a lot of ways. It's I don't want to say it's their only love language, but like, I think my partner needs more physical connection than I do. And when it's not happening, there's like tension there.
But we don't pay attention to the tension.
It would be,
we think it's something else.
Well, and I was just going to say that, like, we can tell, like when, we haven't been intimate, we'll say like, oh, we should probably like figure that out. Like, because it creates it creates tension. It creates, you know, we'll just be like, "Nyeh, nyeh, nyeh, nyeh," and then we'll have to be like, okay, why are we like this? What is happening? And we're actually, I mean, I didn't think I would be discussing my sex life on this as much as I am right now. I'm sure my husband is okay with it. But one of the things is because my husband travels so much, I think that we actually were okay. And I think it's because we have a little space from each other, and then we miss each other. And then it's like, okay, so I'm not saying this just to be like, we're great, no questions about me, but I've always been curious if that's like something that you recommend, like take some space. Like, does that help? Does absence make the heart grow fonder in that way?
It can. I do always recommend that you do things that make you happy. Continue to be an individual. And I definitely say that to my moms because we have a habit, and I say we because I did it too, of living for our children and stepping into the role of I am mom, only mom, and I don't have a first name. And so that is all I am, and that is all I can be right now. So I don't know who I am when I'm not around my child. So I always recommend and encourage for each individual to go out and learn themselves, do their hobbies, hang out with their friends, and cultivate individuality. Then you're able to come together and still be able to build intimacy and connection in your relationship. Because now you have more to talk about and you can express who you are as this new person, because you are different when you have a child or when you have any big little transition that changes who you are. And so I always say, continue to get to know each other because you don't know who this person is anymore. So continue to be curious.
Yeah. And I feel like part of it is for this book club that I was a part of, we had to read Esther Perel's Mating in Captivity. And she discusses the idea of like your partner being another, which is like so attractive. It's like we're attracted to people outside of our relationships because we don't know anything about them yet. And they seem like we've created like a narrative about them. It's like, oh, and then they do this and like, oh, and then you get to know them and you're like, oh, you fart in bed. Like, so then I always thought like, oh, maybe we've managed to keep a little bit of spark because my husband can be away for like 2 weeks at a time. So I'm like, oh, hey, I don't really know you. Let's take this first week to, you know, get to know you. And I think that can, it goes straight to your point that like, you know, your partner probably finds you more attractive when you are like your whole self and your whole person, because we do exist outside of our children. And I mean, that's part of what I do in my work a lot as well, is that people, and again, it's a choice. Like if you want to continue helping your children to sleep, then there's no judgment. And that can be very, like you can have sex anywhere that isn't your bed, right? There's many different locations. So having a family bed doesn't have to stop you from doing that. However, it does for a lot of my clients when they call me, when they are like I haven't shared a bed, we aren't intimate because of that. When you were saying it's not really about that, it's about the stuff. What is some of the stuff that you're seeing your clients come to you with?
A lot of it can be resentment from small things, little things, how you act towards me, something in the past that just has not been let go, other individuals being in their ear, and telling them what things should look like, or, oh, why is that happening? Or, oh, why is this happening? And it could be just an array of things that has been going on that it's easier to just not address it, because then we have to go through confrontation, and no one really likes confrontation. But it seeps, it seeps into everything when you don't address the little nuances going on in your relationship, because the little things add up, the big things add up, and then all it takes is one crazy you sniff the wrong way, and now I'm going off. I'm losing my mind, but it has nothing to do with the sniff. You sniff all the time. What it has to do is all the other stuff that I've just let be. And so now when I look at you, all I feel is anger and irritation and frustration. And the last thing I want to do is have sex with you. When I look at you, that is all that I feel. You don't get up in the middle of the night to help with the baby. I'm breastfeeding all the time, and I don't know how to articulate that I don't really want to do this. I don't want to be attached like this, because you don't want to say that, because then you feel like a bad mom, because you're nurturing your child. So you don't know how to articulate that to your partner, because they don't understand, because they're not doing it, and then there's that, you're so free. I'm here. We're breastfeeding, we're sleeping, we're doing all this, and you just come and go as you please. There's that jealousy as well. If you're solely breastfeeding and not bottle feeding, you're the one that has to get up at night. So your partner is on sleep while you're getting up every couple hours to feed this new baby, or even toddlers, trying to put them in their bed.
Have this and men have this unbelievable ability to just not hear the baby.
Very much
sleep through
so.
it.
Very much so.
It used to be like, oh, I think you're a really deep sleeper. And now in this work, it's like, no, I think it's all men. I wonder what evolutionary reason for that is. It must be that men needed to sleep. Like there needed to be one provider who is not bleary-eyed in the morning. I don't know. Or that I can't figure out why men can't hear it. It's unbelievable.
I would be interested to know. I haven't really had the pleasure of interacting with like a same-sex couple with a new baby, but I would be very interested to know what the sleep dynamic is in the middle of the night.
Me too.
With getting up. I would say that to females, they probably both get up and help each other out. I could be wrong, but I would feel that would be what it is, because they both have that nurturing. But I don't know.
I wonder, or even like two men. Like I've worked with quite a few same-sex couples, but two men, two women. It hasn't come up, but now I'm dying to know. Like, what would it be like for two men, or do you just take on those roles naturally, right? Maybe it was like the person who birthed the child, it might just have really heightened awareness that the other doesn't. Possibly. So men get a little more shit when it's more to do with like your body hormones, right? Yeah, I'm interested. I want to learn about that, because the same-sex fathers that I deal with are super attentive and nurturing and are doing all the things. And I know that we have resources. I know I just saw it in passing, but that men can produce the same sort of like bonding hormones that a woman would if in a same-sex couple. But this raises a lot of questions, and it might not be a heterosexual thing. It could be like, I call it like the primary parent, right? So I just did a segment on TV about like sleep as a feminist issue for International Women's Day, and that it's not necessarily about mothers, but feminism is talking about equality. If the majority of the people who take on the primary caregiving role are women, regardless if your partner is also a woman, I think that there is naturally some sort of resentment that would happen. Like when you talked about the freedom, especially my husband, he was traveling in addition to being free. He's like in mining, traveling first class. And I'm like, he's like sipping a martini in a lounge. I'm like, tell me more about how traveling is hard.
Yeah. And because we feel that is our responsibility, we don't share We don't share what we feel. Or if we do share, it's really passive aggressively. It's not, we're not just coming out and saying, we're like, oh, well, you sure slept good last night, didn't you?
Yeah.
You're very
well, because it's also, it feels like you can't do anything about it. Right. So it's like, well, what are we supposed to do about it? I'm the one who's breastfeeding. We are at an impasse. And then, so I guess that's my question for you. So I am that couple. I am up all night. I have an 8-month-old. I'm ready to think about maybe possibly sharing that bed again with my partner. I feel very annoyed with them because I'm up all night. What are some things that I can do to kind of lessen that resentment or look at this differently?
Well, the first thing is understanding that you do have that choice. Like everything you do, you have a choice, and also that you are not alone. And when you bring your partner into the responsibility and actually say what you need to take that load off of you, it builds that connection. It builds that intimacy. Instead of trying to do everything alone, shoulder some, allow them to shoulder some of that, get your rest, tell them what you need, and then have the energy to even want to do a date night, or to have that allotted time for both of you to spend together. Allow them to help you get your energy back.
Yes, I love that. And I think that's it's not exactly the same, but I'm getting the thought, like, feel the fear, do it anyway, where it's like, I remember at 8 months being like, we need to go on a date because we like going on dates. I don't really want to leave this baby, but I think it makes sense to, so we're going to do it. And so I remember, this is a babysitter who stayed with our family for like 4 years, is a wonderful human. And I was like, I grilled her in that interview. I wouldn't give her the job until she gave me 2 references. I was like, it was so insane. But when in the end, I did feel good about leaving my child with her. But it was important that we did it. And then it was really great when we did do it. We had a great time. It did cut some of the tension. It reminds you that you're your own person and an adult.
Yeah, very much so. And that you can dress up and really look nice.
Yes. I know. Well, I'm even trying to get it, like, in COVID times, I have to be like, Amanda, you do not have to wear sweatpants every day. I've actually made myself get dressed every day the last 2 weeks. It's made a difference.
It does, because it just makes you show up differently. It makes you want to be not out and about, but it makes you want to be seen. Because you're like, oh, I remember her. I remember who she is. And your partner likes it too, though. We assume because we're in this situation that they're like, oh, it's fine. Or we've been together for years. Oh, it's fine. But they like to see you putting in the effort sometimes. That reminds them of what it is like from the beginning. Not saying go to the beginning and how it was when you were first dating, but it's like, wow, this is what I've been looking for. Like, I like seeing this every once in a while.
Yeah, because we're in there somewhere. We're in there. And just there's something that you can't do. Well, I'm just even thinking, like, it's hard for any Canadians. I mean, I'm in Ontario, and we're like, parts of Ontario are locked down, but it's a pretty shitty lockdown. Like, if I'm being honest, like, when people talk about like lockdown is what happened in New Zealand. Lockdown is what happened in Australia. Lockdown here is like, God, it's like, don't go out of your house, but you can get your hair done. And you're like, what? And then they'll be like, did you get your hair done? And you're like, but I said I could. It's like, well, you shouldn't. It's like, but it's open. I don't know what, anyway. But it can be hard to go out on dates, especially if you're trying to be COVID safe. This is where I think, like, you're right, talking about the choice, right? Like, sleep training is not for everyone, I understand, but you might want to find ways to have even that 2 hours in the evening to have like a movie night or like rent a movie and put away your phones. And there are still ways that you can connect in COVID with your partner. And it's so easy not to. Maybe you take your movie watching to a different part of your house, or like you make it special in some way, but you have to, it really doesn't just happen. And I think a lot of couples think that it will, like, oh, we had this connection, it'll come back, but you really do have to work at it and make it a priority.
Yeah, you are 100% right. No matter what, some of the things I always hear, one of those statements is, it shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this much work, but it is. But it is. Relationship, even outside of a romantic relationship, relationships take work. You are two different people. And what you liked yesterday or what your partner liked yesterday doesn't mean that's what they like today. So you have to put in the work to want to care enough to ask, what do you like today?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. What do you like today? Who are you
today? You know, circumstance could have happened. Something could have happened to where you're a different person today. And it goes back to being curious and genuinely wanting to know who your partner is, and having that connection and that intimacy. Intimacy is far, far, far beyond just sex. And when you can build the intimacy and the connection, it makes it that much easier to have a physical relationship and be open and vulnerable in those moments to connect that deep.
And I find a lot of partners who aren't the primary parent really want to be involved, but the primary parent is like, we've got a good thing going. I love you, but I'll take over. Right. Like it's not that I think that you're incompetent. It's more that I'm doing, oh, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. Forget it. I'll just do it. I'll just do it. And then if that were, I mean, to be fair, that's my husband and me cooking, which is why I don't cook. So there you go. It's yours now. I don't even bother.
Everybody.
So I can only imagine.
Right. Like, this is my favorite story to tell about me and my partner. So when I was working in the corporate, I wouldn't get home till maybe 7:00. So I'm the mom. You need the meat, you need the carb, you need the vegetables. And so I gave him the responsibility of feeding the kids. And for the first month, we fought tooth and nail because he would get them pizza. And I'd be like, you can't feed them pizza. They need this. They need that. Like, what are you doing about this? Where's the vegetable? And after a while, somebody said, Natasha, what they ate. And so after a while, I would pay attention and I would get home and I'm like, what did you guys eat? Pizza. Everyone's happy. The only person who was frustrated about the vegetable is me. And so after a while, I had to literally tell myself, but they ate. But they ate. I'll have to come in later on my day and add the vegetables and add all of that on my day. But if I'm asking him, literally, can you just feed them? What I asked was done. They're alive. They're happy. And I think even me, a work in progress, that's what we have to understand. Our way is not going to be everybody else's way.
Amen.
And just appreciate what they are doing for you. Like, see the action that they're doing and how it benefits you and show that gratitude. Don't be afraid to say, oh, I see you doing this, or, oh, I appreciate this, or, you know, I just want to hug you for this today, because then that increases that intimacy, because it's like, oh, you see me, you see what I did. And it's very hard. I will say for myself, and I'm guessing, Amanda, you could probably agree, but it's really hard to do all the things and pay attention to what you're doing so that you can get the praise from me, because I'm doing so much. So if you vacuum the floor every day, I'm sorry, I'm not going to notice it. I'm just going to walk in and walk out unless I see you doing it. Things like that, I'm not going to notice. And I know sometimes my partner's like, you didn't even notice that I did this with the floor, I did that. And I'm just like, no, I didn't notice it. I didn't. It's just not on the radar.
Yeah, and totally. And I think that happens a lot with, you know, these new moms sitting at home doing like this really hard day. And, you know, sometimes dad will come home or primary partner and be like, what did you do today? And then the parent wants to be like, boom. No, I'm projecting, but we are getting to the point, Natasha. I like to keep this podcast to the length of a crap nap, as I call it. So we're getting into 30 minutes right now, and that's not a bad nap. So, Natasha, where can people find you if they're connecting with you and are like, please help me for the love of God?
Yes. So you can email me at nrileycoaching@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Facebook. My page is Natasha Chantel, Sex and Intimacy Coaching.
Perfect. That's awesome. And I'm going to put all of this in the show notes as well, so you can really easily find Natasha. This was such a pleasure. Yay. I feel like I wish we could probably talk about this for 4 hours. Like, there's so many layers. But I really think this is maybe like a good little sampling size. And as always, if sleep is a part of your intimacy plan, give us a call. You can find us at babiesbestsleep.com, Instagram.com/babiesbestsleep. And if you do need to book a discovery call with myself or a member of our team, you can do so at babiesbestsleep.com. Have a good one, everyone, and sleep well. Bye.